don't stay down. It whispers through this rotted town. Ever since the seed I sow, now ghosts blowing rotten road. You can't outwalk what's under your feet. The past keeps time with a fever beat. Graveyard wind through willow bone. Every wrong I made has grown. That old dog won't howl no more, but I still hear him at my door. Fireflies like the broken fence, marking out my penitence. Fever breaks, but I still see the faces staring up at me. What I buried won't stay gone. It sings beneath the cypress song. Never lies a vine that climbs, choking out the breath. Boots on the porch, dripping sins with the rain. Every step you take leaves a crimson stain. Lantern swinging, shadows crawl on the wall. This house remembers, it don't forgive at all. You can't outrun the dirt you drag behind. It sticks like a curse, it stains like time. Wipe your feet before you walk through my door. This floor's already soaked with the blood of before. Every ghost you carry, every lie you keep, better shake them off now, boy. Wipe your feet. Crows in the rafters, thunder low in the ground. The walls keep whispering every name you drown. Don't lay your burdens on these broken beams. This house was built on somebody's scream. You can't outrun the dirt you drag behind. Clings to the soul, it poisons the mind. feet before you walk through my door. This floor's already soaked with the blood of before. Every ghost you carry, every lie you keep, better shake them off now, boy, wipe your feet. Ash on the mantle, knives in the drawer, cross on the wall, don't save you no more. You come in dirty, you're leaving chains. A house like this remembers names. Wipe your feet before you walk through my door. This floor's already soaked with the blood of before. Every ghost you carry, every lie you keep, better shake them off now, boy, wipe your feet.
And okay, that is set. Audio from the True Stuff is closed, and we're all in once more. Greetings, pawns, poppers, and programs. This is Blue Jester here from Deepwell Inc. Entertainment. I'm the arbiter of this campaign and developer of the 4th Alpha of the FARAD System, short for the Fully Adaptable Roleplay Adventure Design System. I have with me today 2 players in the long-form campaign that we started up last month, and we're into our second session of The Grim Adventures of Elidon and Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer is played by a player who has been in one of my previous campaigns in the 3rd Alpha back in 2016. We did 3 overlapping campaigns, so one-shots, and a 4th unfinished campaign. Did a lot of work between then and now, and it's now in the 4th Alpha. And we also have Wolfie, who is playing Elidon, who this is their second session in the FARAD system. It is going to be a little bit shorter than the previous time due to constraints that we have for today's session, but that's just fine. There's still plenty enough stuff to happen. Hopefully this system will be releasing in the fall of 2027 if all goes well. We'll be crowdfunding around that time as long as I can spend enough lead-up time on networking and marketing and all that. If it needs a delay, it needs a delay, because it started way back in 2012, before the 5th edition of D&D had even come out, before the D&D Next playtest documents were released. I'm willing to deal with patience, so let's jump into the session proper, and we'll just have our players introduce themselves once more, just a brief sentence or two of who they're playing as, and we will continue from where we left off. So starting with Elidon.
Hey, my name's Wolfie. I'm playing Elidon, who is an assassin turned adopted friend. That's what I'm going with. Your turn, buddy.
Now I am playing Oppenheimer, the very intoxicated fixer of all your life's problems. Just don't ask how it got fixed or why it got fixed that way.
All right, and where we had left you off last, the two of you had been sent off on a mission from G.R.I.M, the Guild for Ruin Investigation and Management, who works under the Appalachian Region Committee, who deals with improving the commerce and stability of the Appalachian region, which has expanded out from the states that it had previously been in due to the cataclysm that had previously occurred about 60 years ago. The cataclysm, as mentioned in the first session, had multiple chunks of different states. Largest chunk nearby to you, swapping between Earth and Domtalahn, which is a realm where magic exists and pulses from the core toward ley lines that are along fault lines and underground structures, such as are present on the Appalachian Mountain region, and that is part of why G.R.I.M has an office in the city of Grafton in West Virginia, and why Oppenheimer and Elidon have a place in Thornton, which is nearby, and a little bit closer to the mountains, where they run a work release program for convicts who are serving time and assisting with the agents of G.R.I.M. The two of you and one convict who is going by the name of Nate went out on a mission to look into the forest south of Thornton and Siggins Hollow, where herpetology students, including the governor of West Virginia's son, had been looking for mating timber rattlesnakes in their dens and nests. And with thorough searching and care, you were able to locate 3, having heard that there were possibly 4 or 5 that might be in the area. And on rescuing them from a Smilodon that was able to be rendered unconscious, you got them back to town, confused and with missing memories, but grateful for the assistance. And then another individual was found, a local from Siggins Hollow, who, unlike the 3 students, had some wounds and bloody clothing, but appeared that they would mostly recover just fine, needing some pins to help fix a broken arm, apparently most likely broken by the Smilodon when they tried to fight it off. And you contacted the proper people in Siggins Hollow to have communication sent that the trio had been found, and the governor's son signed paperwork that it was a satisfactory job and said that he would make sure that his father was able to deal with whatever requests that you might have. And with that, you were freed to be able to either explore Siggins Hollow or proceed on your way back to Thornton.
Elidon looks at Open. You're in charge. I'm just here.
I write letters, don't I? I want to write letters.
Okay.
Start a draft to the kinfolk, giving them a summary of what the day's been, but in the very like crude, basic way of met some dumbass got caught with snakes. Instead of saying like they study animals, because I'm not articulate like that.
Telling them about how Elidon, you guys met a big tall man, and Elidon don't remember shit about him.
Oh yeah, I met my uncle. Can't forget that.
Do you mention anything about the Smilodon itself?
Yep. If I don't mention every detail, Grandma will grill me, and if that happens, I don't get to leave for a day.
Oh, that's fine. Just making sure, because you hadn't mentioned it yet in terms of within what's the letter draft. So
Yeah. That all that. Save draft because day's not over. See, I believe we were leaving the village after dropping off the person, right?
you did drop off the three. They were able to find lodging and then plan to move much further away to try a different location for looking for dens without being connected to the same area where they might get attacked again. Aside from, obviously, the one that is local who's injured, and they are currently being handled as best as they can, though it's not like Siggens Hollow has a emergency hospital or anything to that effect. For something like that, they would need going to a larger city. So they're doing what they can with what they have.
Okay. So that's covered. That's covered. I suppose before I leave town, after collecting all the scrap and chemicals and whatever else people don't want, I believe you said one of the guys we saved was a important person to a
The
politician.
governor's son. The
Yeah.
governor's son or something like that, yeah.
Honestly, Oppenheimer would not be inclined to go try and get a meeting with him. More or less just waiting for the governor to maybe talk to him so that I can ask about better set up for a bigger scrapyard or talk to G.R.I.M about it because that's going to be part of my report.
Well, he did, the governor's son did mention that if you had something specific, he could bring it up to his father when passing on
Okay.
the word. It's just a matter of that, obviously, there is the matter of if it's something that, is super easy, that would be paid from your normal reward. That's different than, him pulling strings.
Okay.
Get it? And I said, as far as out of character knowledge, being the governor, there's a lot of land that is basically just along the side of highways and roads that, exists because after the cataclysm, there's not as many people in the region who are traveling by car because it requires a lot of shielding work. So a lot of people are by horse or walking or by some other creature to convey them. As a result, there is a lot of land that is otherwise not really being used for much. So it is possible, if you find a suitable location that's not going to be like, ending up dumping scrap to affect the groundwater, things like that. And you talked about you'd put down like a foundation and things like that. And that could be costs that go into it. So that's something that you could talk with him, and you could wait and pass it along the letter that way. It's just a matter of he can put in a word, to say it's a reasonable request and it's not going to be, damaging to your politics or anything like that. So.
Okay, then yes, I'll pass on a letter through the sun that basically explains I have a plan to better the entirety of an area, like whatever this area is called, and it will require a large amount of land to properly sort out and remove what would be, because I can't say too smart because Oppenheimer doesn't like to talk smart. To sort out and remove them toxic particulates, because if they're not sorted out, they're going to get in your drinking water and start a famine like you almost had a little while ago. And I would like to explain my idea more to him, should he be so interested, but bare minimum, I will put down safety foundations and cue over like engineer explained things that are like, I would need a ratio by this ratio storage area for X, Y, and Z, and yeah, make it really technical randomly.
Okay. Yeah, you could definitely say that you're looking for a area to have a salvage yard that is for the county kind of area, so that people who can, instead of shipping it much further away, you can do processing and such, which will save on, time for people who live in the region, that sort of thing.
Yep, but I also have a slightly larger scale project too that would help like the local people too, but I'm not going too much into it because my priority is scrapyard, not trying to get a whole bunch of unprocessed land.
Right. Just a matter of, you can say that that's part of what it is, and you can go into more depth with further communication.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, I'm showing I have thought this out. I do know what I'm talking about. I do know how to process and remove toxins from the ground and all that by processing it in this way and that way. But I also have a larger scale plan should you be so interested or find value. But said in a very crude, I don't like the government style of speak.
Are you going to at all mention that in the letter, or are you just going to be blunt in general?
I am incredibly blunt. I just state what I want and don't go much further because Ma said never say, if you don't have anything kind to say, don't say it at all.
Fair enough. All right. That difference does make some influence in terms of persuasion and the sort with regard to that letter. So that's why I needed to ask once you mentioned that.
Yeah, I grew up on a mountain where we say, get your governments away from us. We rule this mountain. So it's just kind of I was not raised with a respect for the government. I just treat you like a person.
Fair enough. All right. With that, I think that we'll have you do a check for that.
Oh, no.
One moment here.
Let's see. I know I want to use engineering as like the backup one because that's what I did. I put in blueprints.
Right, and I think that is definitely going to apply and make perfect sense. Engineering will apply. Reason could apply.
Oh, yep. Wherever that is on here. There's reason.
I think
Reason and
yes.
engineering, yeah.
Reason and engineering. None of your other current skills look like they'd specifically fit, but that would give you 2 die advantage. So rolling 4d10 and pick the higher of the two.
All right. I'm gonna grab. I didn't grab the right dice. There. There's 2 of them. 3, 4. 4. We got a 10, 3, 5, 1. So 15.
Okay. So that would be a success at cost.
I'm going to guess the cost is the fact that I am too damn blunt.
I would say that you're a little bit more blunt than probably would get a fast response, because you did rescue his son. You know, obviously the reward that would be paid to G.R.I.M and a part passed to you, that will still come regardless. The meeting itself, whether it's by communication stone with the governor stopping in Grafton, or physically coming to meet you, or calling upon you to make a meeting, the meeting itself will be delayed, yes.
I can only imagine what kind of bluntness I pulled on him.
Yeah. My guess would be there's a mixture of, you show you've got a lot of intelligence in your designs, schematics, and blueprints, to the effect that the governor's not an engineer, but he can understand I should take this to people who can assess it better than me. And then there's the other side, which is, it sounds like a country hick. Is it the same person who designed the thing, or is this the person who's got the influence in the area, not the engineer? So he needs his people to pore over it to verify what the hell's going on, and then for him to parse it out and figure out how to approach it, because as a politician, he wants people who are useful without himself coming from an approach that is going to cause problems for his voting bloc. Even if Taylor County does not have nearly as many people as other areas, he knows G.R.I.M has influence that reaches beyond West Virginia. So it's kind of, you confused him a little bit more than anything else.
Too much
Dichotomy.
shorthand and too many blueprints.
Yeah, there's a dichotomy, and that vacillation between the two, even in sentence to sentence, is just a little hesitation to verify what's going on before he figures out his approach.
Yeah. After I write the letter, I send it off. It's just a brick of a letter, because blueprints aren't just an easy little, I draw a little picture. Not with how I did that roll. And then after that, look at hey, you got anything else you need done in here? We don't get to town very often.
I have a lot of scrap. Now that I think, I was like, scrap. I was like, nope, we have that.
Anything for poisons, toxins?
No?
Because I was hoping that, okay, you know how there's neurotoxins, right?
Yes.
Can you make a counter neurotoxin, like something that rebuilds the nervous system instead of destroys it?
No. But I.
Absolutely. What you need, let's get you that.
Okay. And follows you to the store.
Also, we need some stuff to make healing supplies, too. If we're going to keep doing missions, we need to not die.
Fair.
We go to the chemistry store, or the alchemy store, depending on what they call it.
Or the general store. Who knows what it's known as?
It's just the store owner's name is General Store.
Well, I mean, a general store in a community like that will sell a wide variety of things. You did talk to one of the local town doctors, so they would have some stuff, though, as they mentioned, they aren't exactly anywhere near the level of Grafton or further away from the ley lines where they've got proper technology, or further toward the ley lines where they've got, you know, some people who might specialize in magic, since they're, you know, even closer and have experimented with stuff.
where did you say my family is from again?
Your family is closer to, it's one of the mountainous areas.
Like, was I originally from the magic or tech? I forget.
Well, you're from the mountain on Earth, so there's a mix of tech and magic, due to the fact that they have a lot of metal processing that was done in the mountains. There still were structures that were made out of a lot of metal, which helped with shielding some of the stuff when there were ley lines that suddenly appeared. So not everything got fried, unlike areas where it was just wooden houses and oops, well, now your computer's fried, your car's fried, etc. And then being on the mountains with the ley lines and some crystals appearing that became Foki crystals and things like that, there is a mixture where you came from.
Okay.
One of your grandparents came from Domtalahn, but in terms of the other one, they came from Earth, and then your other side of the family all came from Earth. So it's like a quarter of you was from the other world.
So I learned a little bit of the magical stuff, and I'm developing it myself, but I'm primarily technology.
I'd say you're primarily the kind of technology that doesn't require a lot of electronics. You do know a little bit in that regard, but because of the fact that you can't reliably deal with electronics and such, not even telegraphs without potential issues of shorting out from EMP pulses when the wild magic flares. It's more general kind of stuff that somebody might know up to or slightly before the Industrial Revolution.
Okay. So yeah, I guess so we go to the store looking there for anti-neurotoxins and healing supplies.
Okay. Are you going to be that specific when mentioning what kind of healing supplies you're looking for, or just what do they have?
Well, I mean, what do they have at first, but my focus is going to be trying to locate anti-neurotoxin. If I don't see that, well, I'm going to ask then.
Okay. And Elidon, are you going to say anything in that particular regard or otherwise?
No. Eldon leaves this talking to open a lot when they're out and about in the town.
Okay. Then I would say that, are you going into the general store with Oppenheimer? Are you staying outside with Nate, or are you all three going in?
I would say they would all three go in just because Elidon is probably used to being stared at this point, but is still knowing to stay around open just to be safe.
Okay.
And since Elidon can't stay with Nate on a technicality, they can't really be alone.
Well, I mean, up to a certain distance from Oppenheimer, but understandable.
Yeah, but
Well, I also need your professional understanding of toxins as well, because I
that too.
vaguely understand them. You, with your profession, are very knowledgeable of them.
It's true.
Okay. With that said, due to your profession and your interaction in the county in general, as you're entering in, Elidon, I'm going to have you do a check based off of what you can immediately see, the kinds of things that they are carrying in there, as Oppenheimer starts talking about the sort of things that they're looking for.
What am I rolling?
It would be a interaction attribute trial check with any applicable skills.
I would think observation, if not that, maybe knowledge?
Observation will definitely help. In terms of knowledge would be if there's more something that is in a skill that skill knowledge that doesn't have a specific skill for it. Like, for example, first aid is a skill, so that wouldn't be one for that specifically.
Got it. So mainly just observation then?
I think that might possibly be the most suitable with that. I'm trying to quickly double check based off of your list, but I think that might be.
What about deduction or induction or whatever?
The deduction? Maybe, but...
That would help, because you do have a means of looking at it and what would be able to be used for that sort of thing. Like, if you had looked at a shelf and somebody was poisoned on the ground, you might be able to guess what had poisoned them if they had an assortment of poisons in the area, that sort of thing. So yes, I think one of the two would apply. Induction would be if you don't have a specific theory, more or less, whereas deduction is you're working off of, you have a theory in mind.
Context clues.
Yeah. So you can roll 4d10 and take the two highest.
4d10. Cool. I have a 6 and a 9 that are the highest.
Okay, and do you have a 1 or a 10 at all?
I have 2 3s.
Okay.
The other 2 are 3s, so...
So, no jinx or luck die gained on that. You said it was a 9, and what was the other highest?
A 6.
Okay, so you still have a 15, so that'd be a success at cost. Unless you'd like to use one of your jinx or luck that you have already. Jinx would reduce the result, whereas luck would potentially increase it. You are on the cusp of possibly going higher into a straight success. Otherwise, if you lower it, you can be burning a jinx die to try and prevent it from being used when you might not want it to be.
All I can think about is just gamble, roll one of each, and to see which one wins out.
I know, I was like, do I kind of want to do one of each. Just
you certainly can do that.
Yeah, I'll do one of each. Keep it entertaining.
Okay.
These are D6s, correct?
They are, yes.
Okay.
So roll first the jinx so that we know which is which.
That one. Alright. Here is the jinx. That's a 3.
Okay, so that'll drop it down to a 12, which is still a success at cost. So if you want to go ahead and roll the luck and see if maybe you bump it up high enough or if you've just burned them both.
I got a 5.
Hey, that
Gambling
bumped it up to a straight success. So, all right.
So that means my observation goes up 1.
Your observation and your induction, you'll get 2 points of progress for
Induction
each.
or deduction?
Induction. Deduction is if you have a theory already in mind.
Got it.
Despite as much as Sherlock Holmes gets called the master of deduction, it's mostly induction that he actually uses.
Fair.
So, and likewise with Oppenheimer, that would be engineering and reasoning, 2 points of progress in both. And a jinx and luck die gain for Oppenheimer, and -1 jinx and luck from Elidon.
Training montage later.
Okay. With that information, you are able to look through, and you can easily see that there isn't specific things that would deal with neurotoxins necessarily, being that this is a general store. However, you are able to see reflected in a mirror near the pharmacy area to the desk behind part of the counter on the shelf where they have some of their suppliers written down. So you can collect some of the addresses and contact information to be able to potentially place orders. And that can be contacted through G.R.I.M to have them deal with that. So very narrow, but able to gain some information in that regard as far as neurotoxin specifically. As far as general healing, they would have things like aspirin, bandages, braces. They would have gauze, hydrogen peroxide, alcohol, rubbing alcohol primarily, but also other kinds. They would have general small dose drugs for certain common things, vaccines, and they would have a small supply of insulin that they get regular people to deliver for the possibility of somebody who may be in the region who needs it, or things of that nature. General prescriptions that they can't produce locally, and they don't have a proper hospital, but they do still have access to enough networks to ensure that the community of Siggins Hollow and Thornton and a couple of small settlers on the outskirts of both are able to get what kind of care that they can.
We good, open? All good.
This here fella, I have questions for, because I'm trying to help someone who has a damaged nervous system, and I can brew together something pretty fancy, so I figure anti-neurotoxins will work. What you got for that? Or other drugs that help with fixing the nervous system.
Are you asking me or the...
Technically, the store clerk, like you said, because I
Fair.
assume you're looking around as I'm talking initially.
Yes.
Yes. The store clerk is more or less confused at first when you're saying that. He's like, that's not something that we rightly have here. That's more Grafton or Morgantown would have that in their hospitals. It's not exactly... We don't have ambulances here to get to somebody fast enough for something of that nature, usually.
Yeah, I'm just thinking I can brew it up myself as long as I have the ingredients. That's what I was kind of hoping to come here for.
Well, we don't have the supplies for that sort of thing documented here. Usually medicines that are that complex are guarded pharmaceutical secrets from the drug companies. They can give you some info to try and contact a vendor. Maybe can get you in contact with one of the hospitals to find out who they use. But I'm not entirely certain whether or not my vendor themselves would have it or know where to get it.
At which point it's probably like Wolfie coming up going, hey.
I mean, Elidon's just there, like,
Hi.
gas mask and everything.
Yep. You find something good?
Here.
Hands you whatever.
All right.
The clerk at the counter would look over at Elidon, and seeing your attire would more or less simply guess that you're, one of those fellows from Domtalahn who happens to be visiting in the area or something. It's like, you have asthma or something with the mask, or is there some other thing?
Elidon quickly looks at Open, kind of like asking with her eyes, like, take off mask? Not take off mask?
He's wondering if the mask is medically required or if you're just wearing it to look cool.
Alright, I didn't answer my question. Elidon just takes it off. Kind of like,
You tell?
They like the gas mask. I ain't sure why, but they really like it.
Safety.
Okay. So, as you take off the gas mask, you definitely would have the fact that as you say safety and take it off, you turn just enough that they can see that you've got like oxygen cylinders and such, and they look over at Oppenheimer again, and then they see Nate. I'm like, oh, you folk are grim, aren't you? That would
Yes,
explain
sir.
it. Little one goes deeper into the ruins and such, right? Is that why you need the gas mask and the oxygen tanks?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And since it's metal but there's no electronics, then it doesn't matter with the ley lines and such. Because we never have to have our oxygen tanks in any kind of shielding, they said. As long as we just made sure that there's no open flame near them. So, if you ever need to buy some, we can sell you some of those tanks, or get in contact with a vendor who can help you get refilling equipment that you could put into. Now that would need some shielding, but something to that effect.
Would be me having to build them for you.
Any now?
Elidon's asking if they have any now, so they can just stock up.
He looks at the size of your cylinder being small enough for, hauling around, since you're just need enough to increase your oxygen intake over what is Earth standard. He's like, I don't currently have one of that size. They're mostly larger, but if you were to have one of the larger tanks, I'm sure that you could use something to refill from the larger tank to your smaller one. You just would need a couple of valves to make sure that you don't overpressurize.
I
I'm sure
can make
you
the
have
valves part, but
something to that effect.
I tried making a tank and I blew up the barn a little. So I've been
You say
struggling
that.
with that.
Elidon looks at you and goes,
Remember, not happy still.
I am an innocent individual.
Uh-huh.
Right. Well, sharing that. As I said, we could certainly sell you one of those tanks, and then it can easily be swapped out. I think you could probably fill up your smaller tank there. Good 4 to 6 times, maybe, is depending on if there's any, leakage from connection and keeping it from overpressurizing. Set you back, let's say, 2 gold, 2 silver.
I'm not for sure if Elidon would keep money on themselves, but definitely looks at Open. Open definitely always pays for things.
Somewhere on my sheet, it involves how much money I have. I know I have money somewhere.
Probably in your inventory? Maybe?
Maybe there's a spot for money, but it doesn't have anything because I never filled it out.
Good job.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I can quickly pull that up from the Discord conversation. It'll be just one moment. That'd be...
Worst case scenario, I start a tab because there's a pay coming, and yeah, I guess I don't know.
Okay, so yes, with all that you had, that would put you slightly over on the coins with the tire and everything else that you had before session 1. I thought you were either very close or slightly over, but then you had stuff from family, which, balanced it out to even. So you can set up a tab. General store, I would say that you probably can show the fact that you've got the G.R.I.M badge and your number and such, so they can document that down and then file an invoice to the G.R.I.M office.
Yep.
So it either come out of your
This
regular...
is a job expense too. This isn't a personal use.
Right. It'd come out of your regular funds or out of your reward, etc. Or they can just look at it as it can come out of Elidon's, whatever.
Yeah. So, check pocket. Well, I do have this, though. Show badge. Here's my number. Here's this. We just finished the job. We got money coming in. And, however, this also counts as a business expense, so they might just pay for it altogether. Either way, you're going to get money.
He says, I've dealt with a couple of your agents before, usually not one locally. Appears you are just over in Thornton. So, yeah, that should work, Grafton Branch.
I mean, I come through here. How often collect metal? You'll find me.
Well, certainly. You just not stopped in when I've been on shift before. I run the general store here, but I have, my son and daughter also have shifts. Only work a couple of days a week, so just missed you before, it seems. I will just fill out your badge number, name, invoice it out, and make sure to also slap on a tax-free on it, since you're an officer of the state and you don't get charged that. And that will also help with my books, because I'm sure that they will pay me what the cost is. And he writes down a few things on a piece of paper. He has just a stamp he pulls out, stamps the document, and he turns it, hands you a pen. If you can just sign there and sign your badge number next to it with your own handwriting. And then that can be sent out with today's letters. And I can have the tank either given to you now, or I can have it ridden over to your domicile, your house, home, place of business.
Well, we got a whole cart full of scrap metal and chemicals. I'm sure when one more thing won't make the cart break.
Well, as long as you
Look at that
make
open. Hopefully. Like, now? We take now?
as long as you
Oh,
make
let's-
sure you don't set anything too heavy on the tank to possibly affect the nozzle and cause a leak. You know, obviously you're paying for a filled one. It'd be a shame if it's completely empty by the time you get to where you're going.
Go through all the valves and shit so I can study them. And also, you got some scrap cloth. I'm going to turn this into a backpack so their favorite new toy don't break.
You're going to turn what into a backpack?
Basically, strap things onto the oxygen tank to become a temporary backpack.
Okay. This would be more like a full-size has wheel and cart kind of oxygen tank. So it would have like a pair of wheels. It's just your cart will be going faster with the horse than pushing it around on a dolly cart. So in that particular regard, it would be not exactly something that you'd carry on a backpack.
Okay.
It's definitely quite a bit heavier than that. I can get you like an estimate of the weight, but I'm fairly certain.
Okay. Then I'll just I'll ask for a backpack-sized one.
Well, that's what he was saying. He has the full-size ones. He can requisition smaller size.
So yeah, we'll take the full size. We'll strap it into the cart carefully.
Yeah,
And-
full size, loaded. It's about 130 to 150 pounds.
One arm lift.
As soon as it's strapped down, Elidon is just like, their wings are fluttering, and just like excitement.
Yeah, so he would just simply pull a little cord that would ring a bell, and he'd call his son to come down and help you get it loaded into your cart, along with the little push dolly that it comes with, so that you, once you get it off the cart, have something to move it around easily enough. Together, the two of you or the three of you with Nate, yes, you can lift it, but considering, he doesn't want to end up having to have anything spill right outside the general store, he's making sure that his son's to help get it in without any problem.
Yep. So if I can get some valves and stuff so I can study how they work so I can recreate them and or repair them, I'd like that. And proceed to write down basically how to contact me. Call me anytime there's a problem with your shop. I'll fix it for you.
Well, I'll certainly keep that in mind. As far as the
Think of it
valves
like
and...
I'm putting on a tab. Basically, I'm creating a positive tab.
Yeah, essentially. While he wouldn't have specifically the oxygen tank valves and things of that nature, he would have stuff that's for hose work and things, which are just built in a certain way that it's unlikely to get too hot and immediately melt rubber when there's a ley line pulse. So he's able to say, like, I know you can use this sort of stuff. It's not exactly a closed seal, so you'd need some kind of adhesive tape for the threading and such to make it a firm seal, or some tar. But it can work with it. It's just you're going to need a little extra that I don't have here. If you want specific parts that are made for them, then that's something that I can order, but I don't have them here, because usually people, if they pick one up, they bring back it empty. I have it picked up by somebody who drops off a fresh new one, that sort of thing.
We're going to sign my friend here up for that replacement program, if at all possible.
Certainly can do that. I'll have your name down, and then once we have the payment from G.R.I.M, then they can be able to tell me how often that you're needing it filled. That way we can make sure that it's sent along with our other shipments, since we usually only carry a couple of extra on top of those who regularly come in for them, a few of the elderly in the area.
Fair enough. All right, that should be about all. Medical supplies. Just queue load up of medical supplies.
So certainly, I can add that on to the tally for your invoice. Just create a second sheet of paper and have you date and sign that it is tied to the first. I'll also include the paper requisitioning the data from G.R.I.M on how often that you're going to need the additional tanks.
Yep, on the papers I write down for the tanks for G.R.I.M equipment used for the investigation and searching of ruins in a more safe and sound fashion for better work environment, basically bullshit reason. And on the medical equipment for the safety and health of hold on a moment. For the health and safety of convicts working off their time. Because you have to give reasons.
Right, and you don't have to put down the specifics that the general store owner needs to know necessarily. Considering Elidon has worked with you for a long enough period of time to be considered an agent now, your handler would get the gist of what you're saying and phrasing to that. Hey, it's easier rather than having you guys ship the small ones if we can get the bigger ones and refill them ourselves.
Yep.
So.
But yeah, sign it off and just. Cool. Anything else you want, Al?
Not that moment. No.
Well, I'm thinking about picking up a big old amount of, like, a few pizzas or something to bring back.
Okay.
So yeah, just pick up a whole bunch of pizza for 6 people, roughly.
Would you be wanting one each, or are you wanting split 2 for a pizza? Just depends on how many you're wanting.
Basically 1 each. Again, just kind of the high. I do work for G.R.I.M. I'm getting food for the prisoners, but what have you.
All right. He's able to, before having the last paper signed in and with your badge number, he adds that to the tally and such. He deals with enough government officials. He knows he's going to get his money one way or the other, or they'll hire somebody to hunt you down if you're an impersonator, and he'll get paid one way or the other. So he's not worried about that. He's
the kind of person I like working with.
He does lead you over to a wall where there's no hum as one 60 or 70 years ago would have heard, but instead there's just a small crystal and a few marks above a piece of metal and glass. As he opens it, it is just frigid air, and he just shows you the assortment of different frozen pizzas that they have, as people have adapted to a lack of electricity when they're close enough to a ley line that Foki crystals just recharge, and it doesn't really need much to keep it constantly cool when it's a large enough size crystal. It isn't enough of an investment that you can tell he or somebody else who was before him did invest pretty early once people figured out how to use that for cooling stuff.
Good man. I get the classic. You got cheese, you got a pep, you got 4 meat or whatever. Like, I get a little bit of variety. It's kind of a buffet mentality, but roughly 1 pizza per person.
Yeah, and since Nate is there, he would say that he'd prefer just a plain cheese or vegetable on his, if possible. And they do have Supreme, so it'd be just either picking off the meat or cheese. Like, he can pick off the meat. He's fine with that.
Oh, there's going to be 6 pizzas. Definitely a cheese in there. All right, cool. Grab the pizzas. Now we got to test out my new oven.
Okay. And while it will be some time to get back to where you are, the pizzas won't fully thaw by that time, since they're frozen solid, currently at least.
Yep.
So that will give enough time for how long it would normally take. Unlike instructions for preheat the oven and then put it in fully frozen, it'd be more, it's thawed, but it isn't cooked yet. So you have dealt with cooking some frozen foods you've occasionally gotten from Siggins Hollow or Thornton.
And I wouldn't be surprised if I've dealt with this kind of thing before, because having been a prisoner, I like to go a little bit above and beyond to make sure they are healthy and happy.
Yeah, it's quite possible with your stops to the general store that you've purchased some stuff like that in the past, just that more or less you hadn't specifically gotten them from this general store. You've gone into Thornton more often, or when you've been in Grafton for one reason or another, and picked something up to heat up, in the guild house. And as the general store owners, like, you've probably met his son or daughter when you've picked up other things and just not noticed that they had some frozen food, since he had to basically show you where it was located.
I probably never asked about pizza here because I thought general store stuff, not food.
Well, general stores do often have things like jerky and candy and things like that. And in modern day, our modern day at least, they would have some stuff that's cooled with electricity. And now, post-cataclysm, they would still have some stuff for luxuries like that, but done in a different manner, adjusting to the changes of the area. Most towns in the Appalachian region most likely would not, or they would only have one store like this, which would. So it's like Siggins Hollow is a little larger than Thornton, not much, but it is large enough.
So, just on the ride back, we're going to pizza today. And I probably eat way too much fast food like this.
Okay. As you are heading out, and you're heading back to the highway to ride your horses back toward Thornton, with Nate walking along and the horses pulling the cart full of scrap and the oxygen tank and medical supplies, you would hear a sound of dust and gravel coming from behind you, moving further away, coming out of Siggins Hollow from a different road.
Curious, take a gander.
Something that you've not even seen in Grafton, as there appears to be a boxy vehicle of some kind, which is moving quickly, faster than your horse at a gallop, to go away the opposite direction from Thornton, more toward where Grafton would be located.
Please tell me you saw that.
No.
My God. Reason I'm trying to get some nerve fixer.
I did.
I did. I did see it too. Okay, I wasn't sure if
Elidon likes to
was-
fuck with. Sometimes Elidon just really likes fucking with Open.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Nate doesn't know this yet and thought it was more related to whatever happened before with memory. But Nate was speaking very slowly, like I just said, "What the hell has somebody got a van doing here?"
Very fancy folk. Either way, we got your people to check in on, because I don't want to leave them alone too long. They might get curious about the barn, and then I'll be down a barn.
That's completely understandable, yes. You get vehicles running through here like that fast?
I ain't seen one like that, but sometimes a vehicle for, like, the real fancy folk.
I would imagine fancy folk would probably pick something that isn't be as boxy and white, drawing a lot of attention.
That looks like it could carry a lot of stuff.
Oh, well, perhaps. Mostly, if I dealt with any vehicle that had such, it would have been a train far away from ley lines and such, but mostly horses when I'm in West Virginia.
Much as I really want to investigate that, I got duties with G.R.I.M to do, and if I don't follow through, I get in trouble, and I just sent a big bill to them, and I'm probably get in trouble for that too.
But probably,
Elidon check.
Is gonna take some time for your invoice to get sent out, so probably a day or two from the mail.
Here's your brain repairing already. You're all twitchy before, and here you are talking like me. Something's real wrong with you.
It's haven't taken a lot of the own drugs and such that I peddled and smuggled.
Ain't nothing wrong with having a little fun. Anyways, was you want to take a gander at that there box? Talking to Elle.
Sure. Goes take a gander.
Okay.
Or was it driving away like nothing we can do about it?
It's driving very quickly away. Elidon could at least fly high enough up to get a good look at it as there's winding roads and such. Probably unlikely to be able to fly fast enough to catch up, but at least to see better than just dust and pebbles being kicked up behind it. So
I got a really funny idea of if there was anything that Night Gloom could throw at them to stop them.
Well, as I said, even with a horse at full gallop, they would struggle to catch up. I don't think Night Gloom would be able to throw far enough. That would help you to get a little bit more detail if you wanted them to throw you to get some extra distance.
Yes! Anytime I can get the horse to throw me, I'm down. I'm down for it.
Okay.
Hey, you want to take a gander?
All right, so I would say then that since you said any time that you can get the horse to throw you, you've probably before had some kind of command that you would give, and you'd just stand up into the saddle on top of it as your horse will attempt to throw you as far as it can, and see how that will help get you a boost up and forward toward the moving vehicle.
Let's go.
Someone in the background accidentally says the command word.
Gander.
I
imagine the word is gander. Yep.
Oh, God.
The code term is definitely just, I'm going to take a gander.
That's
Okay.
bad. I say that a lot. You fly a lot.
Okay.
I'm not always on the horse, so we're good.
So they're going to
That'd be
throw
funny.
you mostly straight up with a slight angle to get you a bit of height. And then you're going to use your flight. So if you will mark down your use of source points on that. believe that should be 2 from your natural, which you do regain just from resting and such, so you'll get it back later, but it's a matter of how much you use it. And then depends on how long you want to keep flying toward it before you switch to gliding. Flying will let you get your full mobility as far as you can move, whereas gliding you will slow down and be descending. So depends on how many turns you'll have to hold fixation for, or pay the cost again. So how long do you want to try chasing after it before either it gets too far or you decide to stop?
I am guessing this is in miles. I don't know the answer. I guess until like it's really just as far as I can go.
Okay. So, for right now, considering that you don't have anything that would be interrupting you, you don't have any attack happening toward you, or any kind of bird flying by or other thing to interrupt you. I will say that considering you're willing to try and hold fixation and to go as long as you can, you are able to get close enough before it speeds far enough away to see that it is a white van that has a red cross on it that is scuffed and badly damaged over time, eroded and chipped on top and on the sides. And there's just simply a bit of handwriting on it that somebody has stenciled in that just says Grafton, WV. You've not seen a van of this kind really driving around Grafton. You've really not seen much in the way of vehicles that often, but considering the fact that it is driving without coming to a stop or catching fire, it has to be shielded in some fashion to prevent the ley lines from shorting it out. So you're not able to catch up fully with it, but you are able to at least get that information to identify what appears to be essentially a really old school ambulance that has been retrofitted.
Okay. I'm not able to get like a slight description of who's driving, or
well, considering you can't catch up with it fully, you're able to just get high enough and close enough to even get the text and iconography on it. You can't get to where the driver's seat is and stuff like that. Plus, it is now going around winding roads and further away from you. So it's, I'd say, you could go ahead and try an observation. It would be with 3 disadvantage, but then you would have your skill to add back on some of that.
Do it.
I'll do that. Try for that.
Okay, so how many ranks of observation do you have?
1?
Okay. So what you do is you roll 40-10 and take the two lowest. Now you can use luck or jinx die if you would like to. However, you will have to make the decision of how many before I tell you what the result will end up being. You do have your resolution ranges, but I won't tell you what information you'll get from a lower result if you happen to have one.
Fair. I'm not gonna gamble this time. I'm just gonna do the straight 4. Okay. And I'm taking the lowest 2?
Yes.
Alright. Okay. Well, my lowest 2 are a 2 and a 3.
Okay, well, you avoided getting a jinx die. Did you roll a 10 on either of the other two?
I did.
Okay, well, you will get +1 on that, so you'll have +2 for the session so far that you'd be able to gain. Would you like to use either of those or your previous ones before I would tell you what your result is?
Either of the 2 that I did roll, or?
Any of the luck die that you have. Would you
Oh.
like to roll any of them or just go with the result that you have?
I'll just go with what I have.
Okay. With what you have a failure with bonus. So you cannot get close enough to get a clear look at the person through the window itself. You do have just the barest glimpse at their side view mirror for looking at the rear. However, that the figure who is in the driving seat has some kind of garment that is covering them from head to toe with some kind of clear plastic or something else to that effect that is going across their face. You've
So
not
possibly a mask.
quite seen what it is. It is very loose looking, however. You can't see the face due to the angle from the mirror. But it looks like something that Oppenheimer maybe might have some idea of if you communicate it. You specifically would have like the vaguest sense of some kind of familiarity, but so far buried back in your memory that you can't remember exactly why it has some kind of familiarity to you.
Okay. Yeah. After falling so gracefully from that wonderful flight pattern they made, they get back to Open and then just tell them exactly everything. Well as they can.
I did not necessarily wait for you. I know you'd find us because the cart doesn't move that fast.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely can't like found you, but I was just like
White, Ambo, Red Cross, Grafton.
like just broken English of how what was said.
Understandable.
As well as the math or the driver, as much as I could get.
Okay. I will say that from the effort of pushing yourself far enough, that you would be gliding part of the way back because of this push to get that far. So the cart and horse will take a bit of walking to catch up. So it does mean that Oppenheimer and Nate and your horses won't be moving as fast as they could otherwise do. You can choose to fly back toward them, spend another 2 source points, or just walk. The pizzas will start thawing a little sooner than if you fly over, but either way they still will be able to be cooked just perfectly fine. Maybe a little bit more crispy if you prefer them not as crunchy.
So, what can I work out from what was described?
From what you have heard and seen yourself, you would recognize what is being described, Oppenheimer, from certain ruins that you yourself had been sent into as a convict that were more dangerous, where an agent was willing to have a convict as a sort of canary in the coal mine, not wearing what they wore, which was a hazmat suit.
Okay. After hearing that, I just look at you. That's a real dangerous job, truck. If you see that, you avoid them because they're probably radioactive, toxic covered, or something. And I just give a small shudder of, ugh.
Elidon, do you also mention the iconography on the vehicle?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, you would know from your early formative years of old ambulances that were left where they had died due to the ley line pulses. Nobody is driving around in these woods in Taylor County an ambulance that is retrofitted for picking people up this far away from a hospital, to your knowledge. You have heard of, as you said before, people who have got a lot of money, who use the luxury to travel cross country and risk that they have proper shielding on their vehicles. But that somebody wearing a hazmat suit is driving around in an old ambulance that's been fixed is really unusual.
I'm going to take a special note in my little data pad. And does this sound like something that's like a real urgent, oh crap? Or is this like some rich guy's driving around and that's weird?
Well, as I said, the only past experience you've had directly with somebody wearing a hazmat suit was when somebody was delving into a ruin with you, as them being a G.R.I.M agent and you not wearing one, because then if something does come up, then you might be affected sooner, so that they know it's dangerous enough. Somebody who is overly paranoid who wore one with a few of your delving arrangements. You were able to decide whether or not to stick with that agent or somebody else in G.R.I.M. I will let you decide whether or not you were fine with them being that paranoid and risking your life in that fashion, but not risking their own. However, it is something that is, even among G.R.I.M, not common unless you know that a place is that dangerous already. So somebody who is not part of G.R.I.M, driving around like that rather than riding a horse, it's definitely suspicious, because somebody who's wearing that likely knows they're going into somewhere that's dangerous.
I have a skill here called Judge. Could I use that to kind of, using the obviously very vague description, to determine if they are a part of G.R.I.M or if I need to report this? Is that an option?
I will say that with what you've heard, you'd already have one advantage on it, and that would give you a second advantage. So you can roll 4d10 and pick that two highest.
Okay. 9, 6, 5, 2. So 15.
Okay,
And I'm going to keep it. I'm not going to spend any luck. I'm good.
Okay, that would be a success at cost. So I would say that you would think that you should report it, Not necessarily that it needs to be reported immediately, but it should be something that you do mention whenever you do send a report. Just judging from your own experience, you're not entirely certain if it's something that's like, I need to immediately, but you think it's unusual, you probably should mention something, you shouldn't just let it go. But it's kind of on the edge of, you're not sure which way to go, if you should or shouldn't, and nobody said, be on the lookout, so.
All right. Like I said, it's in my notes, everything that was described, just in case I make that report, which I probably will eventually. I'm probably going to do it by the end of this session, but for now I'm more preoccupied with I have prisoners I have to take care of.
Okay. And then with that, you will not have any difficulty getting the rest of the way back to where you had left in Thornton at your barn. The rest of your journey does not have any difficulty, and when you get back to the barn, it is not aflame. There are not loud noises that are unexpected coming from inside or outside of it. Just what you would expect to hear from the task that you had left the 3 convicts, Bob, Bill, and Marcus, at when you had gone off on the rescue mission.
Can I have, like, a bell or something to clang? Like, is that fair to say?
I would say that you could easily do that, yes.
Cool.
You could have a bell that you use for ringing the convicts to come to attention to a side of the barn, whether it's a dinner bell or just a general get attention bell. Since they're new, they wouldn't know the difference either way.
So I just clang the bell and just kind of shout, "Come on over!" No context what I'm shouting about, just, come on over.
Alright. With that, Bob, Bill, and Marcus would make sure to set what they're working on in a way that it's not going to be a danger to anybody. Marcus, it being the easiest, since breaking up rocks and getting rid of them from, getting them into a pile, at least, from where you're going to be having some of the ground worked, is far easier than separating the scrap and making sure it's not going to just collapse if they pulled out a piece from the rusted Jenga pile, as it were. So they just make sure that it's stable before they walk off. And would Tin Man specifically be instructed to respond whenever that bell is rung as well, or would they just continue what they're doing?
Tin Man would still be basically, Tin Man's watching to make sure they're doing the right thing, not going in the barn, and protecting them from wild animals. So it's going to keep kind of its patrol pattern. If it has something to report, it'll come to me, but
Alright. Well, then the convicts are able to all meet up with the rest of you, and it's not going to be any difficulty for them to come out without making a mess in the process. They do have gloves on for the work that they're doing, but it probably would be a good idea for them to clean their hands before they eat any of this stuff, in addition to the fact that the frozen pizzas will need to be cooked. So.
Yep. I just point out, there's a faucet, wash your hands over here, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, all y'all, dinner time. in about X amount of time. You know, whatever the time is.
All right.
Meantime, get your water break, and I'm just doing I'm taking care of your stuff so you don't die from heat, basically.
All right. Doesn't take very much time for them to wash their hands and make sure that they're fully dried off, cleaned off, and ready to eat as you cook up the pizzas. Nate would briefly be talking with a couple of them as they're just asking some questions about, how is the mission, do they have you do any kind of crazy stuff since you were along with them, that kind of thing. Getting a general feel for what's it like when they're not working at the barn. And these, few faltering stutters here and there, but for the most part he communicates. It was nothing major, just simply helping out and kept out of, direct danger to the extent that was possible when it came to the fact of a Smilodon being in the area. And Bill doesn't talk a lot. It's mostly Bob who's talking for them due to the tinnitus and making a few gestures and making sure to stand on the side that it's easier for him to hear from. And soon you all have the pizzas cooked and everything is all set for being able to sit down, eat, and enjoy the break from the work that they're doing and the return back from your own mission.
Yep. Give them a basic medical check too, just to make sure while I'm gone there's nothing wrong. Don't know if they've encountered someone who I guess cares like I do, but having been a criminal, I very much appreciate things like that.
Yeah. It seems that Nate's definitely appreciative of the fact that you're having them all do a checkup and that sort of thing. The other three, are a little surprised, but not quite as evident in that fact, since they have worked other jobs and the like where, people actually care about their employees not being sick to work and that sort of thing. Whereas with the case of Nate, working as a drug mule, and smuggler, and peddler, there wasn't nearly as much care about whether or not he stayed healthy so much as was able to continue, smuggling and selling drugs, or that somebody else could follow up on them if they disappeared to get whatever was due. So, evidently has not held down a lot of other jobs that weren't just covers.
Yeah. Check in with them. Anything they need to report, say.
Marcus would say that there was a vibrating from one of your cabinets, and flash of light from it, but it didn't smell like there was any smoking or anything when we came through.
I immediately have an oh shit look on my face and rush over.
As you open the cabinet, it is where you have your communication stone for your handler in Grafton. And you see that there is a envelope next to it on a side where there is a small mark and a seal showing that it has not been sent by just anybody, but directly from your handler with their mark on the seal. As long as somebody hasn't, stolen their seal and just decided to spam you with something, but it's unlikely considering how well G.R.I.M tries to keep things locked under key when not in use.
Well, at first, I am absolutely relieved that nothing actually blew up like I was worried it did. And then I check it.
As you open the letter, you would receive a note that says that we understand that you're still out looking for the lost herpetologists when last we had communicated with you. So we expect that this will arrive to you if you arrive back safely at the end of your search, or possibly if you have to return for recuperation or rest, that you may read it before continuing on the search. We had previously notified that we had heard there were 4 to 5 who were supposed to be on this search for a den of timber rattlesnakes. As we have discovered, the 4th was not able to join them, as they did not arrive in time to gather with the others who left on the journey and met up with a local who was going to guide them to areas they were aware of. The 5th individual had been thought to be sick at the time, and we have checked up on them in case it would provide any information to where the trio, including the governor's son, had intended to search. Unfortunately, it appears it was not a mere illness that they had contracted which kept them. There were indeed maps scattered about to show that they had been into the woods south of Thornton and Siggins Hollow in advance about 3 months ago, and a massive quantity of painkillers and other medications, mostly antacids and the painkillers, that they have been consuming in that time. We found them with a cavity in their stomach and chest, which appears to have been eaten from the inside out, with a trail of blood that led off, out a open window, into the woods, and a brook nearby where it vanished. From what we can tell, the time of death appears to have been 5 days ago, and they haven't responded to phone calls about the trip 6 days ago, 4 days ago, or 3 days ago, as the trio had tried to contact them. With it being a shielded satellite line that they had, opening on a time delay, the calls made in advance of the trip still were able to arrive to the voicemail that had been set up. We are uncertain what it was that had eaten its way outside of the victim, but it is quite possible that there are additional things to search for in the woods in addition to the trio, and to be wary and cautious as you search for them or locating them, as we do not yet know what could have possibly caused this. We did find dried remnants of some kind of substance around the wound, but unfortunately, due to how old that it was, we were not able to find any genetic information that we could sequence, even if we were to ship it to somewhere that could process it. Best of luck. Hope that you're able to contact back once able, and that you have had time to read this and communicate your thoughts in case there are any legends, tales that you have heard of regarding this. The Grafton branch has not heard of anything of this sort, though there have been, since the cataclysm, instances of individuals eaten from parasites, not ones of this size that we have encountered. And with that, they would have signed and stamped your handler's name, the date, and their stamp badge number.
So we got a parasite around here. Oh boy. Sounds like a knowledge check, because they're asking about lore from the wilds, basically. Assuming I heard that right.
They're definitely asking if there is anything in that particular regard that you've either directly encountered or heard of any stories of something that they have not, to the best of the Grafton branch's information that they've found thus far.
Okay. Let's see. Come on, scoot over. Let's see, that'd be a knowledge minimum.
You can use knowledge as a general in this case, simply because there may be something that's not quite lore, but could be rumors or other things that you've heard.
Deduction, maybe? Or induction?
Induction if you're working off of evidence in this particular case. Deduction if you're working off of a theory you have. Lore you don't specifically have, but you could work on that and put that as a primary to gain progress in it.
I'd probably go lore then, because they are asking for lore, and I come from the hills where lore is everywhere.
Okay. Well, then you can use one other skill with it to try and give yourself an advantage. You wouldn't have an advantage from lore specifically, but we can put your progress from the check toward that and possibly gaining.
Yes. Induction, because they're giving me a description of either a creature they have not seen before or a otherwise, and I come from a place that's all lore. So, I'll do that. And roll 3 dice.
Yep.
What do we got? What do we got? 7, 6, 2.
Okay.
13.
Alright. Would you like to roll any luck or jinx with that?
That's a good question. Where did my sheet go? There it is. Not you, not you. Yes, you. Okay. Let's see. I have 5 jinx, 3 luck. I'll throw a luck on that. Wait, no, it's a D6. 5. Ooh. So 13 plus 5, 18.
Okay, that would bump it up to a straight success instead of a success with cost. You would have heard some rumors here and there. Tales of different sort of creatures that possibly had eaten from the inside out of entities. Bloat flies, but not quite in that area usually. Not massive, and certainly not large enough to leave a blood trail, especially one that travels so far. You've heard that there's tales of creatures that would ram their head in and chew from the inside after getting in, which could maybe cause that kind of appearance. Kind of mutated cats and dogs that could possibly do something like that. But usually there'd be enough damage that it would be hard to tell if it was from the inside or out. And they definitely seemed positive it was from the inside out. There's tales that some from the old countries, from long before the cataclysm, had passed down tales of different creatures that had been encountered before in the Mediterranean area. Anthropophagi, Anaklili, basically what were supposed to be sort of headless monsters that mimicked humans or apes in a sense. Often such eating from the inside, from larval young that would burst out once they had gestated.
Alrighty.
Such tales would tell of often there being one or two, and sometimes if there was only one, that it would be larger than if there were two. Seeing as the letter mentioned that there was a trail of blood, it seems likely it would be on the larger side of a singular rather than two that had simply chosen to go in the same direction without meandering.
Okay. I'm going to describe all that, because that doesn't sound good, to them. Basically, I just call them and go, well, they want me to write or call? Better question.
They said to contact when you were able to. So, seeing as how you do have the communication stone, you can certainly try to at this time, or you can try to write a letter back and send it back to the office. It's just a matter of, if you can't get a hold of them, you probably would send a letter.
Yeah, I'll call them quick, I guess.
Okay. So, as you contact your handler, how would you choose to communicate this to them?
Are you asking about a check I would do for the communication, or are you asking just how would I describe it?
I would say, how would you choose to communicate it before dealing with any kind of check? Because they've encountered you enough that they're not really going to be worried about you being blunt or that you have some tales that turn out to be true. It's more, are you holding any information back? Are you saying stuff that is mixed in with stuff that they are skeptical about, like your uncle in the woods, things of that nature? And are you communicating anything beyond that, such as the fact that you have found the trio and encountered the local who had also been found with the wound and the broken arm?
Well, I would try to clearly communicate it, but I'd be rambling way too much about my uncle, about what he found at one time. Then he found this weird parasite thing, and my mama said don't touch it. And it's like the information is mixed in with stories like that. They're just so riddled with the fact that I can't stop talking about the random things, bringing up my uncle with the big feet and how he wants, like, it's so hard to get the information exactly, but I'm telling everything.
Okay. And are you telling everything about, with regard to the trio and the local and what has been seen otherwise, and your invoice, since you've covered the lore that you know at least?
So, yes, I would talk about the trio, found some idiots around some snakes, got them safe, found the guide, he was all confused. I found this weird goop that made people forget things. I'm be looking into that. And let's see, it was trio that. What was the third thing?
Well, as far as the guide being wounded and having a broken arm, there was the vehicle and the invoice.
Right. Talk about some mad lad driving around like he's a hazmat team. Don't know what to think about that. And I put in an invoice for Elidon's has gear, medical supplies for the prisoners, and you know, basically describing I did this for company reasons. If it doesn't count, just take it out of my pay.
Okay.
This will all result in a message that is honestly way too long.
All right. You've talked with them often enough that when they're responding back to you and trying to get you back on track, you definitely can hear that they are writing shorthand to make sure that they are still getting the information, even if they're trying to make sure you stay on topic, because they never know if something might prove important at some future point. They say, don't worry about the invoice, we can handle that. It certainly is going to be easy enough to cover with the fact that you rescued the governor's son, and the reward on that is more than going to cover the amount that the invoices would be, and that they feel it is a worthy enough cost, so we're not even going to deduct that from what you would normally get from the reward. We'll just count it toward part of what we regularly give you, and just send you a smaller amount. The reward will arrive when we get it from the governor. In that regard.
All right. I do ask about getting a large plot of land to start developing into a prisoner reform camp, kind of like what you're doing, but teaching them life skills so they don't have to return back to life of crime. They could go into farming. They could go into smithing. I teach them basic skills like that, but I need a lot of area for that because farmland ain't small.
I would say that they do have arrangements with different facilities that are a little further away from the mountains and the woods, where there's more proper farmland and the like. So G.R.I.M doesn't typically deal with that as much, but it is feasible to find areas in the county that would be suitable, even some in your area. It just might be that before they start with the farming, they might have to do a bit of clearing trees and breaking down firewood and digging up roots and
Oh, absolutely. I
replacing
was
the
thinking
soil
about
and things of that nature.
get,
So it's feasible. It's going to require a bit more work than if we send them to an already established thing. It would work in the long term toward giving something closer, which is easier to check up on. So they're like, that's something that you'll have to communicate with the townships to see in terms of either what they have or the land that's between them with regard to the governor or
oh, absolutely.
approval in that regard. But they don't see that there's going to be any problem with that. It's just a matter of
All I'd ask is if I do get that large area to work on, that's a lot of area that I can't keep an eye on and a lot of prisoners. I just like some grim observer while I'm out doing like delves and stuff.
I say that as far as G.R.I.M specifically for that, it's possible we could put somebody who is a trainee agent to help you set something up of that sort. Once there is a convict who has gone through the program far enough that they can take that role, then they might transition to something of that nature with a trainee who comes in less frequently in order to
Sounds
keep it
perfect.
up. It's just a matter of it will take a bit of time before they can get a trainee specifically for that, since they have to first do all the documentation, send it out stuff to the ARC, Appalachian Region Commission, because this is development of the land and of the natural resources and employees toward tourism, toward prisoner reform and other things that G.R.I.M is tied to, but it's also part of their ballywick that they make decisions on. They say probably not going to have much difficulty with convincing them because you're doing it more in the backwood country rather than closer to a big town where they're going to have a problem with it being visible.
Yeah, and I was thinking that we can get the prisoners a whole lot of work there. Just, I'll teach them how to log. I'll teach them how to work on the land. Like, we can use the prisoners, teach them life skills that after they're done, they'll learn logging from helping me clear the land. They'll learn rock breaking. They'll learn how to make concrete. They'll get a lot of skills that will get them a lot more money than I robbed a bank and now I'm back in prison.
Well, that will certainly help with regard to the first batch. Obviously, you can't just continue logging the entire region, but once you have the farm proper and other things, then there's a possibility of wood carving and other things that can be done from import of other materials and what can be done on the land proper. That's something that we can discuss further once I get a letter sent off about your request. I will certainly put in my approval of the idea at least, and they can debate how much that they can grant. Considering the fact that there's enough ley lines and ruins in the area, I wager that they're more than willing to find some way to be able to send more prisoners to us to deal with in a fashion that can help keep the ruins managed and prisoners set to a task that will help. And if they can go through the process and become agents such as you have, then it will certainly help, whether they continue as agents or if they retire and help with the region.
Well, here's the other thing I was thinking.
Ways.
With this large-scale farm, yeah, we're teaching farming, but if there's too much food produced, it ain't going to do any good. But we can send out all the food we produce out to places that need the food. We can take the clothing we teach them how to make and send them out to crisis situations. There's a lot of stuff that can be done aside from, hey, we taught you some. Everything has a use.
Absolutely, and I agree in that particular regard, and it may be well worth, after having proven themselves for a period of time, if there's perhaps some collaboration with some ambassadors from land that is swapped over from Domtalahn. The fact that the Appalachians do now have ley lines and your area is saturated with them, even if it's not the highest in the state, being on the mountains proper. The possibility of, after they've gone far enough in the program, teaching them how to create things that work along the ley lines could help with further developing land that older technologies no longer work. So that might be possibly something to further incentivize. I'll make sure to include it in my recommendation. There was, however, you mentioned the local guide, something about them being wounded when they came. Did you...
Oh, they were right fucked up.
Did you find them when they came out of the woods?
Did we?
They walked into town. Confused...
No, they just walked into town. Like, they looked like they were had a good night drinking confused level. Just
I see.
walked them out.
We do had an agent who was based in Siggens Hollow to aid in the search, as we had said before, who was searching through the town while you were sent to search further south, and others who were spiraled further out. Our agent who was supposed to search Sigyn's Hollow proper did make mention of an individual who appeared to be covered in blood who was going to a clinic, so that matches up with their report. Unfortunately, when they had gone to file the report and then returned to the clinic, that individual was not present. And this was not long before you communicated to us that I received their warning of this individual being missing. The clinic said that there was someone who arrived to try and rush them to Grafton.
So, they're being rushed off somewhere is kind of matching up with... we saw one of the ambulances kind of go whipping out, someone wearing a hazmat suit.
Yes, you mentioned that briefly amidst your deviating topics earlier. You're certain it was a functional ambulance?
Oh, based on its speed, it was sure functional. Elidon could barely keep up.
Grafton has not used an ambulance of that sort of design since the cataclysm. The cost of retrofitting and distance traveled has made that prohibitive to reinforce to a significant enough degree for travel. Even before the cataclysm, transporting somebody over great distances typically would be done by an ambulance if it was a shorter, less winding road, or by helicopter if necessary, and not something that could be dealt with by the local area. Obviously, the hospitals in the region that had, unfortunately, not recovered from the cataclysm would not be able to handle anything significantly difficult for an emergency. But bleeding alone and a broken arm should not have been difficult enough for a clinic of the size in Sigyn's Hollow to handle if they were able to walk their way in to the township.
Sounds like there's something to be investigated.
I will include it in my reports to my superiors and see if there's any other reports of disappearances in the area. The fact that there is confusion you mentioned on them and on the trio.
I got a sample of the stuff that made people so confused too, so if you can send a chemist to come check this shit, I got it. I was going to investigate it, but it might be better to have someone who actually knows chemicals.
I can authorize sending a parcel for you to send a one-time return shipment to the branch. This would return to my office, and the wards preventing such sending of materials would be put back up, preventing it unless I alert in advance. So I would highly suggest ensuring that no one else sees you utilize it or attempts to copy, as attempting to send to a warded location may cause such magics to backfire upon the one sending. But
Makes
that
perfect
would
sense.
work far more easily than waiting for sending someone over with equipment that they can carry on horse. I will
I
get
can
it.
do that.
I will get it set up and prepare to send it to you. It may take until much later in the day, but once I can gather it, I will send a communication and notify you when to send it through. After I send you the container, just let me know how large of a sample it is. If it requires something larger or smaller, it can make a difference on what I mark for being sent back.
It's a rag I'm going to put in a bottle and then seal it up.
Fair enough, then I won't need to use a very large one, and I can keep the wards enclosed, with the exception of, say, the balcony, just to be on the safe side, in case there's anything that reacts to something with magic around.
Also, do not touch it with skin contact for any fucking reason.
Noted, especially considering the confusion that you've mentioned before. I have a feeling that, regardless of what may have caused the injuries to the individual who walked out, whether it was the Smilodon, as reported, or if it was something else, that at the very least, whatever substance affected the students that you collected a sample from is likely what affected them as well. And I can imagine quite a few agencies within our nation who would certainly seek to have such a substance if they can obtain it in some fashion. Considering that we have a missing local, I will attempt to see if anybody who deals with any of the major cities notices such a vehicle that passes by their way.
Sounds good. Also, side note, could I have been crafting something during this phone call?
I would say you certainly can if it's something that you can deal with one hand, just because you need to be holding it.
I just want to make a basic pitching machine, hand crank.
I think you can possibly gather up the parts, but as far as assembling it, you probably would need to hold it and then whack some of the parts in place with a mallet, or otherwise screw them on while holding them. If you held the device and motioned for Elidon to come here, without getting close enough for the convicts to overhear, they could probably help you out with that, and you could both make progress on it.
Perfect.
That will mean that Elidon will hear at least the conversation from whichever point that you try to get them to come over. So
Part of the reason I was asking is I was hoping they'd be a part of the conversation, not just me single talking.
Well, you can certainly have it so that they came over early, or that you called them in when you heard that there was the light and vibrating from the cabinet.
Yep.
Okay, so Elidon, you would have been present for the communication, and being close enough, been able to hear it as well.
So, mid-conversation, hey, want to help me make a machine so things hit me?
I feel like you asked Elidon way before then, and Elidon just started working and was just listening the entire time.
Yeah. So I guess roll crafting / engineering?
I would say so, and the two of you would be able to help each other, so you can both contribute to this.
Perfect. I already have 4 dice because I have 2 in crafting.
Okay, so then I'm using
Ooh.
2 from
19, a
crafting.
9 and a 10.
And am I also using engineering? Because I do have that as well.
You certainly can.
Yeah.
Oppenheimer, did you have any 1 with your other 2 die?
It was a 3 and a 2.
Okay, so no jinx die. You did gain another luck. And you said it was a 19 in total?
Yep.
Okay. And that would be a straight success. So that will be 2 progress for your crafting.
Okay. 9 on. The highest I have is a 7, and a 6, and a 6, and a 1. So I definitely have a jinx.
Oh, I have a plan on burning jinx here. As a pitching machine, practice your dodge or reflex or whatever while having things hurled at you. Use your jinx dice.
Okay.
Because getting smacked is fun.
So you would have, Elidon, enough for a success at cost, and Oppenheimer would have enough for a straight success. So Elidon, as you are helping putting it together, what would you think is a suitable cost in putting it together with their 2 of you working together? Would it be
I would
a
say
simple...
that during the conversation there were points where Elidon was like really listening and not paying attention and may have like accidentally burned themselves a little bit.
Okay.
Like, pinched a nerve, like pinched something pinched, and she's like, ah! Quietly doing all that.
All right. Well, then that would take you to 3 in marks. And since you're dealing with a physical kind of thing, that will take all 3 of your marks and give you a single wound.
Yup.
So you
And
currently
a
have
tiny
1
cut.
wound.
Congratulations, you have leveled up on wounds. I mean,
Ooh. Ooh. Leveling up, guys.
Well, it does mean that may be the possibility of a little bit more danger at some later point. Could be possibly some of it is a little bit on the rusty side, so it's a slow, longer acting wound that needs a little bit of healing before it goes away, rather than just a paper cut, but not so severe that you need emergency rush to the hospital or the bleeding condition and bleeding out. Something more along the lines of your, a modest sort of wound. So
Yeah, I feel like it was just like it pinched a little too much and it made a cut. That's about it.
Okay.
Like a whole finger.
Yeah.
Just a tiny cut.
Just a tiny cut, a little bit of infection. So
I'm sure mid-conversation they were overhearing me going, no, right there. No, you don't put that part there.
yes, and dealing with Oppenheimer and Elidon enough, your handler would understand that you're talking to your partner agent, and completely understanding that you ramble a bit, but you also get results, and that you're working together on something to make sure that they're paying attention and you're paying attention, while both getting the information without drawing somebody else in to help you with whatever it is you're assembling together. They have no idea because they obviously can't see what you're doing, they can only hear. But it certainly seems that something unusual is going on. And they don't know what, just that they will try to have it investigated to the best of what they have access to. So you would both get 2 progress on your resulting skills, and be able to assemble a pitching arm.
Basically, I just want something you can hand crank and just pitch a lot of like softballs or baseballs at someone. That's about it.
All right. And with that, they would assure you again that they will send off the appropriate letters for what you've requested and the appropriate responses to what information you provided, and send you over essentially a return to sender box, and time a delivery period for lowering their wards to receive the sample that you send over. And that will take place into the next session. Is there anything else that you would like to do before we wrap things up for this one?
I'm going to ask him to try out the new machine.
You're asking Elidon, or are you asking me?
Yeah, I was like, who we ask?
Yeah, asking Elidon.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Why not?
So, Elidon, are you trying to hit it with something, or are you trying to dodge what is being thrown at you?
And do you want to use one of your Jinx dice to, because at this point this is a non-lethal thing, it's just going to give you a black eye, maybe at worst. Hopefully.
Because I need more marks and wounds on me.
Yep, you do.
Well, you don't have any more marks on the plus side.
I'm gonna go with the dodge. I feel like Elidon's more of a dodging type person.
Welcome to Oppenheimer's world. Hey, I made a pitching machine. Dodge!
Well, I was going to say, you could just grab a piece of wood or metal and try to swing at it with like a bat.
I'm becoming Piccolo with fucking Gohan. Hey, Gohan, what? Dodge!
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a grenade. I mean, what?
Oh my lord.
Okay, well, if you want to practice the dodge, what we will do is have you roll a essence statistic adversity check and apply any dodge that you have for it. And in this particular case, since you are trying to dodge, you can also apply any active defense on top of whatever the die result is. If you get hit, however, it will apply towards your break tracker.
Yeah, no, I'm like, we're learning together on this one.
Yeah,
I
that's why
understand.
made a
I
picture
only
machine.
have. I just understand. I have 2 D10s because I have nothing in dodge.
Okay. So, you have nothing in dodge, so you'll be gaining progress in it.
Yes.
Now, in terms of your active and passive defense, you are choosing to not utilize an item for your active defense, just simply your armor that you have, essentially. So you have a +1 from your cylinder diver mask with goggles armor. And that is it for your passive. Should be +2 because of your attire as well, since that was something that had been discussed, but didn't copy specific details for you. But it should be a +2 to whatever the result is. If you still get a hit from a failure or a success at cost, it may add to your break tracker, depending on whether or not you avoid taking on the penalty from the success at cost. Because you could have it so like it grazes your cheek rather than hitting your armor, etc. So,
Got it.
go ahead and roll your 2d10 and add +2.
And I don't have any passive because I'm just wearing clothes, right?
Well, are you also having it thrown at you?
Well, I'm going to take my turn later. I'm just trying to learn the mechanics here.
Okay, so in your case, as I said, it would still be at least the +1 from passive,
Okay.
since you would have just your basic attire is more than not wearing anything at all. So that's why you would get something. It's just, it depends on where it hits you. So the passive helps in that regard as, if it's not aimed at a specific area, then it's just as likely to hit you, say, on your vest, which then has the vest and your shirt before it gets to skin. So if it doesn't hit hard enough, it might rip part of the vest and shirt, but not actually cause a mark or wound.
And what do I put for the break and expend on the item?
So you would have a break tracker and an expend tracker, and you'd be adding when you have a hit. So if you don't get hit, you don't need to add to it. When you get hit, it slowly adds up to the maximum that you have based off of what you are wearing. And if you hit that maximum, then you have to roll to see if anything breaks. You can spend time or replace items to remove stuff from the break tracker.
Okay. Just curious. Go ahead. Do your thing.
Okay, just make sure I'm rolling 2d10 and I'm adding 3.
You're adding 2.
2. Okay. As 6 and a 5. So
Okay.
an 8 or a 7.
No, you're rolling the 2d10 as that's your baseline. So you add those together. So the 6 and 5 is 11, plus
Okay,
2, that's 13.
11. 13. Okay.
So that'd be a success at cost if you don't want to use any jinx or luck. Now, jinx will lower it, but it will help you burn some of it.
Might as well get some jinx out.
Roll all
I'll
of them
take
at once.
one. I was thinking about it. I don't remember how. I think I'm at 5 right now, so.
Well, you were at 5, you
I
gained
have-
2. So you would be at 7.
Oh, I'm at 7 now. You know, I'm gonna use 2 right now. Make it so much worse. I'll use 2 now to make it so much worse. Let's go. Oh. They're both 6s. Fuck.
Oh God! 13 minus 12, I think that is.
Yes. So that would take it down. From a success at cost to a straight failure. So you'll add 1 to your break tracker, because you definitely took a solid hit there. And you're going to take another wound as it hits you hard enough to knock you over and leave a solid bruise and little bit of blood seeping from a small crack in your chitin from where it impacted.
Fantastic. This is great. Am I putting the break number in the dice quantity size track now or track max? Just so I understand where to put it.
So on the spreadsheet that they have, it should be on the track now.
Track now. Okay. And I'm adding a 1? Just to make
Yes.
sure.
You're adding
Okay.
a 1 to your track now.
Yes. And then to dodge, I'm adding 3.
Yes, you are adding 3 to that. 3 progress to your dodge. And you do have 2 wounds presently from your earlier damage and now this one.
What happened?
You could
I hit all 3 wounds just to make sure.
you get all 3 wounds, and your physical body dies. And
Great.
You want to keep going?
Nope.
You take on a spectral form until either something happens that can possibly get you back in, or something happens and your essence decays enough that you are no longer even a specter, and you shatter into soul fragments and core fragments.
Actually, now I kind
At
of
the-
want to continue just to see what you would do to bring me back.
At the pearly gate. How'd you die? Punching machine.
Can't
Don't-
dodge. Fuck
Don't-
dodge.
Dokara, you do remember the solo session that Marty had previously in the first campaign?
Mm-hmm.
That might be something that'll take a little bit more time to talk about, which I can mention off air to Wolfie, since I know that Dokara, you do have somewhere to be at
Yep.
1. But I think that as Elidon is knocked backward, that as they're recollecting themselves and seeing stars spinning about, that we can end the session there and see when we can pick up again for our third session, and possibly a bit of rest and recuperation for Elidon to see how they can try to mitigate some of the damage that they've taken so far, since you certainly
Yes.
chose to gamble with that those Jinx die, and thankfully you got rid of 2 Jinx die. You did gain 2 luck from that, because you rolled maximum, but
Oh, Lord, this is great.
Can I go around on the pitching machine before we're done?
we can do that before we end the
Fucking
session and
use
just
all
leave it.
Yeah.
Trying to give me to use all 7 of my dice. Would have been dead for sure, sir.
Let's see. That would have been fucking bad. That would have been below. That'd be extra failure -8 insta death. Like, on.
Well,
do
that
not
is-
pass go. Do not collect $200.
That is one of the reasons why I asked before we started the campaign whether you guys wanted extra success and extra failures, because it, yes, can add up to more than just taking one on at a time.
Yep.
That was great. I'm liking that.
Fun little mechanics.
Elidon is
So-
knocked out on the fucking ground. Please tell me that Open doesn't even mind and just is there. Like, Elidon, you gotta do it this way. You gotta do it that way.
So yeah, I'm going to use dodge and back up with reflexes, so I have 3 dice to have advantage on. Then I might as well. I'll match your 2 dice. Find out how it goes for me.
Let's go. I hope you get smacked.
So if you're trying to gain it with improving your dodge specifically,
Yeah.
you'd have to have at least one of your die held for that. But you can
Yeah, 'cause
roll
I-
extra die because of burning Jinx or
Yeah, I'm burning 2
luck.
jinx with this, and because I have 3 in reflexes, 2 for the dice, 1 for a jinx. That leaves 1 extra jinx that's going to roll. Brutal.
Okay, so you're rolling
Does that
2
make
Jinx and 2 regular. Just making sure on the total.
Yep.
So you still have at least 1 die that is just dodge. Now, since you don't have the dodge skill, you're putting your progress solely to that, correct?
Yes.
All right, just making sure before you do the roll.
Yep. So I'll be rolling 4d10 because that's 2 of the reflex set to the d10s and 1 on a d6. Correct?
Well, you said you're doing 2 Jinx die, so you'll roll
Yep.
first 2 Jinx
I'm
die.
just covering my advantages.
Right. You
Yeah.
roll the 4d10,
Yep.
then you'll roll the Jinx die, and of the first Jinx die, you'll roll it twice, and pick the lower of the 2, and then you'd
Got
roll
it.
the regular Jinx die for your final die by itself.
Got it. Let's see. I got a 10, 9, 3, 5 on the D10s. I got 2 on a Jinx die, and then the other Jinx die is a 5.
Okay. Did the other Jinx die's higher result end up being a 6?
There were no 6s.
Okay. Alright. Well, you did subtract 2 Jinx die, and you gained a luck die from that 10. So what was your total all in all?
That is 18 minus 7, so 11.
Okay, so that is a success at cost. Now you can take that as that is taking a mark, or you can add a +1 onto your break tracker as the armor taking all of it, but it's, made a small tear in your attire, for example. Or you, as I said, can take that as a mark.
I'll just take it as a mark. It's just, I think I'm hot shit standing there. I think I dodge it well and just eat it.
Okay. Well, as that is your third mark, that is going to bump you up to your first wound. So that is reflected. And you have 1 strain and 1 wound, and Elidon has 2 wounds.
Look back at the prisoners. Who wants to join?
I fully, imagine as Elidon is on the floor, still winded, seeing stars. Owen's just like, see Elidon, this is it. And then as he turns to look at Elidon to see if I'm okay and alright, fucking smacks him in the face.
I imagine you're the one turning the crank, too. Just looking at me like, I'm gonna get you.
Oh, definitely. If I can. If I'm not on the ground, I'm the one doing it. I'm like, bitch, get out of here. Fucking dare you.
All right.
Blood dripping down my face.
The two of you have very similar wounds, and your convicts look at the two of you, and they're just shaking their head when asked whether or not anybody else wants to go. And we'll leave it off as Elidon, one hand on the crank, having just flung and hit Oppenheimer. One hand
I'm
still
just imagining
holding
Elidon just still starting to re-crank it, let's go again.
I was going to say, one hand still on the crank, but slumping, and then Oppenheimer on the other side, already slumped down. And the two of you finding yourselves slipping into a short bit of unconsciousness. Not heavy enough that you'll be out for all day, but at least a good 15 minutes or so as we end the session off proper. So, with that, a little bit of mechanics that came up near the end, different from previous session, but fun to see you guys enjoying them. And we'll end the session off, let Delcara get ready for what they've got going on, and can talk a little bit with Wolfie about why I brought that up with Delcara about that session with Marty after we're off air. For everybody else, the session is ending, and we will catch you all on the flip side. Have a good day.